Amen. 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 Amen.
Hello, and wow, man, the numbers are fluctuating wildly on this one. Jesus Christ. Okay, all right, I see how it is. Well, fucking a. Hello to all of you out there. Those of you who have, more patience than a 90-second, ad. If you have more patience than that, then you are doing better than several other people. So let me know in chat how you're doing, man. This is a different kind of thing, and I'm going to do it just one time for now. We shall see how it goes. We shall see if we want to do it again. Okay. See if we get a couple more people. There's a couple more now. Yeah. Cool. In the meantime, I just want to say thank you for being up late as fuck with me. Many of you are probably not on the West Coast as I am, so you're probably into Friday morning. How's the future? Hope it's cool. Do we have jetpacks? I know we don't. Do we have a clean atmosphere? Of course not. And oh man, it's just fucking ducking in and out wildly on this one. Jesus Christ. What are we talking about tonight? We're talking about how it's not your fault. And if it goes well enough, it might be something we talk about. I don't know, once a week, every couple of weeks, something like that. Because it's not your fault. I don't want to talk about what that means. And what do I mean by that? Obviously, there's some context missing from the statement that it's not your fault. How can I know that it's not your fault? What am I talking about that's not your fault? And what the fuck do I know about it? A couple things. I don't have to know you. I don't have to know the specific circumstances to know that it's more than likely not your fault. Okay. So I was thinking about some stuff. For one, thinking about how when I started doing YouTube 5 years ago, it was scary and it was a challenge. And it's not that anymore at all. Like, it's the furthest thing from it. I'm talking about, I was piss scared to put up a video, to talk about myself, to express opinions. Oh, what are they going to think? What are they going to say? Shit like that. That has completely vanished from my mind in the intervening 5 years. And so has some of the drive. And I can't help but feel like those things are connected to a degree. I started out with some fucking noble intentions and shit. And I do believe they were good intentions. I'm not going to sit here and call myself noble or whatever, but like, I believe I had good intentions. I believe I still do. And I believe that to some degree or another, I've accomplished on a small level and with individuals that I've heard from many times, I've accomplished what I set out to do. But I've also not accomplished what I set out to do in some ways, which is, I don't want to say I failed to reach a lot of people, because I don't think I have failed at that, but I believe that I'd like to reach more people. And in the last couple of weeks, since the election of, what's his nuts again, rather than, feeling fucking deflated and defeated and stuff, like, which is what they want us to feel. I've been, me and my friends have been having pretty, public conversations about like, what did we miss here? What is the thing that we didn't quite understand about this? Because we understand a good bit of it, but there was obviously some components that we didn't see, with some factors we didn't see in the whole thing. And so there's just been a lot of, I guess you could call it soul searching, if you want to use that kind of phrase. I don't know, souls, whatever. I don't know if they fucking exist, because I only believe in what I know I can account for. But soul searching is a good enough word. So, you may know that I've talked a bit about my journey to get to YouTube and why I felt that I had anything to offer in the first place, as far as perspective and, insight or wisdom or whatever you want to call it. And comes almost, as does everything with everyone, comes from our personal journey and what we've experienced along the way, what has shaped us into who we are, and what makes us think, this is what I'm going to do with my life or whatever. And, of course, some people, I kind of feel like some people don't think about it and they just do shit. That's just me. I'm suspecting that. I don't really know for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. It would be hubris to think that we understand everything. I think that anybody that acts like they understand everything, and this does tie directly into the "it's not your fault" thing. We all want to have an answer for everything. So, okay, what do I mean when I say it's not your fault? What I'm referring to is trauma. The shitty things in life that have happened to you, and even in some cases that you've chosen, aren't necessarily your fault. And this is the kind of thought that a conservative-minded person, I think, would reject outright. Because it's like, you're saying that, you just reject all responsibility. Absolutely not. There's a second part to this. It's not your fault, but it fucking is absolutely your responsibility to deal with. And the only thing to take from that is it's not fair. And you're right. It's not fucking fair. Nothing really is. Life is not fucking fair. But the shitty things that have occurred to you, to me, to everyone, literally everyone, there's no one free of fucking trauma. Even the people, maybe even especially the people that think that they are. It's the thing that unites all of us. It's the thing that we all have in common. You can call the traumas different things. You can, some of these traumas are very different from one another. But, and I'm not talking about like blunt head force trauma, although some of you certainly have that. I've seen some comments that indicate such. I'm talking about, neglect as a child. I'm talking about abuse as a child. I'm talking about just abandonment, feeling fucking alienated, and I'm not saying that not all trauma means that you're a broken person. It doesn't mean that you're, most of it doesn't. I'm talking about just these things that have affected us deeply. And if we could go back and say, if I could reorder my own life to go play out exactly the way that I think would be best, I might take that part out of it. That's a good indicator of what you might have some trauma regarding. Okay. So if you were a lonely, isolated kid, you couldn't fucking relate to people, were never the cool kid, you sucked at sports even though you tried, that kind of thing. That might be a trauma that you might be a little trauma you could explore. It's not your fault. It is your responsibility. So the reason, okay, let me start from this perspective. There's a song that I've known of since I was a teenager by a band that many of you have probably never heard of. I'm going to pull up the lyrics to it real quick. Okay, here we go. It's a band called Jimmy's Chicken Shack. And the song is called When You Die, You're Dead. Okay. And I took this song, like I loved this band as a youngster. They haven't put out a whole lot of music. I think they started putting out more music again lately. But there was a long period of time where they just weren't. Kind of a stoner rock kind of band, literally have songs about getting high and shit like that. I don't know about anything about that. I don't relate to that at all. No, of course, I was a fucking little stoner kid. So here's this song. It's from their album from 97 album. Pushing the Salmonella Envelope, I believe is the name of it. The album. So weirdos, Jimmy's Chicken Shack, pushing the Salmonella Envelope. He's fucking emptying. It's got this weird fucking drawing of this dude emptying some fucking feathered drugs into his hand or something. I don't know. He seems like a real scumbag kind of guy over here. Even whenever I was a stoner kid, I stayed away from dudes like this. Jesus Christ. But yeah. So when you die, you're dead. That's a fairly, to the point thing. But the lyrics to the song, okay? I felt like from the time I was about 16 or so that the lyrics to this song essentially held every wisdom you really need to know, which is obviously the kind of fucking notion that a 16-year-old would have. They think everything I need in life is in this song, right? And so there are definitely, even now I'm, much older person. I got joints that creak. I got things that leak, body don't always do what I want it to do. Sometimes it does what I don't want it to do. Fun times, fun. As Juan, I hope your endoscopy goes well. Speaking of which, not sure. Oh, surgery. Jesus Christ. I really hope it goes well, man. Please let us know, when you get back or when you're healed up. I'm going to keep some low watermarks comments on screen here because he's definitely supporting the concept here. So just, I want to go through these a little bit. And the thing that I really want to get at is in this song. And it's one that it's a notion that I just vehemently disagree with now. And that's what the name of this stream is about. Following the crowd provides security. All right. So this is just a list. This is like a series of just little wisdom nuggets. This is just the singer of Jimmy's Chicken Shack. I don't know, Jimmy Haha, I think is what he goes by. And he's put these nuggets of wisdom, chicken nuggets. That's fun. Put them in this song. And granted, graced the world with them like as if he's Moses coming down the fucking, the mountain with the 3 tablets with 15. Oh shit, broke one. 10. commandments. Little reference for you guys that know what's up there. Following the crowd provides security. I think that's true. I still hold that to be true. We feel secure whenever and it doesn't necessarily mean security like literal physical security, but yeah, that too. But I mean like security of like feeling secure in yourself. People do it. We all do it to a degree, right? Cities alienate people. As someone who has lived in the country, and I'm talking the fucking country, and has lived in the suburbs and now lives in the city, I find this to be very fucking true. I have access to everything in my city. Anything I could want or need. I had some fucking cannabis delivered the other day. That was pretty awesome. It's the first time I did that. CBD. Not like I'm not getting high or anything. That's crazy. So many of the things you want are worthless. Yes, I think that's true. By you, I mean myself as well. If you try, congratulate yourself. That's like a point of advice more than his wisdom. And I agree with that. I think we do deserve credit, to give ourselves credit for trying, especially things that we, really were kind of afraid of failure on or whatever. Surviving can take a lot of energy. I think anybody that's older than maybe 30 realizes the wisdom and truth in that shit. Everything's an integral of everything else. A little bit more, deep. Yeah. But it is true if you think about it. Almost no one finds their match. I don't know. I mean, what does that mean? As you start getting into breaking down some of these concepts of like, what is your match? I believe that a match is the person that sees you for who you are and, flaws and everything, and is compatible with the flaws that you're, are just kind of like ingrained in you and doesn't even see them as flaws. In fact, sees them as just like, this is just who you are and I love them. Right. And then also we all have our things we can work on. So people that are willing to work on those things that are not conducive to a healthy relationship together, you're willing to work on that. I think that is a good match. I don't think there's such a thing as you just find someone and they're your forever match. I guess it happens sometimes, very rarely, but yeah, maybe that's what he means. Strangers don't want to know you. I don't know if that's always true, but I mean, in general, I think you probably, if you're just like on the bus or something, you can't expect anybody to give a shit about like if you want to try and make friends or whatever. That's probably true. And nature always wins. Yeah. I mean, yes. Nature, in the long run, nature always wins. Sometimes the very long run. And then the chorus is, why would you waste it? Why do we waste it? Why would you waste it? Why do we waste it? Okay. So we all want the same things. Generally, I think so. When it comes down to the effect of what we want, you may want to get you may want a new motorcycle. I may want to get some music that I want to listen to or whatever. Like, but ultimately, what are we seeking there? We're seeking some kind of peace, some kind of fulfillment, something to, separate us from the anxiety and pain of existence, and to say, hey, you know what? Life isn't so bad. That's what we want, right? And then here we come across the motherfucker of it all. All right. This motherfucker right here is the reason that I mean, kind of the crux of this whole stream that I wanted to talk about. You have chosen everything that happens to you. You have chosen everything that happens to you. Now, I used to fucking think this. I used to agree with this 100%. And the rest of the song has some good stuff in it too. But I mean, this line right here, man, the more I think about it nowadays, you have chosen everything that happens to you. I don't know that. I mean, I definitely think this is the most fucking idiotic. I don't know if there's such a thing as a wisdom, like anti-wisdom, but that's what this is when you think about it. So, all right. So you've chosen everything that happens to you. How did I apply that to myself when I was a younger man? I believe that if I did something stupid, not even realizing that it was going to be a stupid thing to do, and believe me, I did that a few times. Of course, I've chosen whatever the consequences are of that, right? And yeah, to a degree. But I mean, when it comes to things like the trauma that we is enforced upon us, especially as like children, before we have any agency, before we have any power over our own selves, our own lives, absolutely not. How the fuck can you have chosen that? How could you have chosen that? You can't. That has been done to you. Okay. Now here's the motherfucker of it all. If you're someone who is maybe a parent, or this, I can extend this to your parents. If your parents were the people responsible for the shitty things that happened to you, it's not their fault either. In some ways, yes, their actions are absolutely their own choices, and they are responsible for those actions for sure. But the thing about trauma, and I've talked about this in several videos now, the thing about trauma is that it creates cycles of behavior and action that it become it's like it radiates outward, and it harms other people, and it harms ourselves repeatedly, and it becomes an exponential effect. The longer you go untreated with like whatever traumas, that if you're, especially if you're if hurt people hurt people, I'm sure you've heard that phrase, right? Hurt people do hurt people. If you are fucking wounded, like seriously traumatized inside, you will, you're going to project that onto other people. You're going to lash out on other people. That's going to extend to other people. The limitations created by that trauma, the stunting of growth that trauma does, which is another effect it has. As you grow up into an adult, and you're trying to have an adult relationship with someone who doesn't really have that same level of trauma, maybe, but you do, and outside you look like an adult. You are an adult for all intents and purposes, but inside you've been stunted emotionally, psychologically, and at some point that is going to rub up against this other person who is more adept at expressing themselves, their emotions, their even their flaws and their limitations. They're more adept at handling those things in a healthy way. Okay. You're going to hurt that person. Now, does that make it your fault? No. And that's what I think. I think a lot of people run from fault and blame. That's why I want to say, make sure to say it is your responsibility, because people have a much easier time, I think, grasping that. So let's go ahead and define these terms so that nobody has any confusion about what I'm talking about, right? To say something is your fault, there's an implication that comes with saying fault or blame, actually. To say it's your fault or you're to blame, there's a judgment that comes along with that. It's like a moral imperative. There's also like there's an implication of an action that needs to be taken in order to rectify or enact retribution, right? And a lot of this stuff comes from, is ingrained in us as a majority Christian society here in the US anyway, and really in Europe as well. A lot of that stuff is just kind of ingrained in that mythology, and it's kind of burned into our fucking brains, and that's not good. So when we say it's our fault, or we say we're to blame, we are in essence saying that we deserve some kind of punishment for that, whether it's someone else punishing us or we're just going to punish ourselves, right? And I think that's where it's a trap, because what does that do? It creates more fucking trauma, man. Now you're traumatizing yourself. Okay? So whenever you have, I'll be honest, I have hurt people. I've hurt people. I've, especially like relationships with like women, and I'm not talking about like I was physically abusive or whatever, but I mean like emotionally, psychologically shitty, just lashing out and like putting my problems on someone else. I've absolutely done that. Most of my earlier life relationships were like that. Now, at the same time, when you're someone who was traumatized like I was, you draw other people who are like that too. And so they're doing it to you too, right? So like there's the aspect of it where it's like, when I think back of that, I'm like, oh man, I was really shitty to her. And then I think, wait, she was shitty to me too. Fuck. It kind of just washes out in a way. It doesn't absolve us of our responsibility for that. But I mean, it's not something that you need to carry around blame for, as long as you're taking responsibility for it. That's the important thing here. Because if you're not taking responsibility for these things, that you might want to blame or guilt yourself or whatever for, well, you're just a dickhead and you're kind of a piece of shit. And that's the kind of person that I've never, on my channel, I've always been able to sense someone like that. That's like, it's just not somebody that I want to be around in my personal life, my private life, or my YouTube life. So if you're feeling guilty for something that you've done, whether you did it on purpose or on accident or whatever, explore that. Why do you feel guilt? Guilt, in a way, is a self-absorbed, self-involved emotion. Does that make sense? Like, that's like, oh, I feel so guilty. This is all about me. Especially if you've hurt somebody else. Fuck your guilt, man. Fuck your guilt. It's stupid. You're being fucking selfish. I'm not talking to you, Maestro. I'm sorry. I see you just said something about feeling guilty. This is a coincidence. Fuck your self-blame. Fuck your guilt. If you've hurt someone, the harm that's done to them should be your priority, your focus. What kind of harm was done? Is there a way to mitigate that harm? When you apologize to someone for doing something shitty to them, are you apologizing to them for yourself or for them? Right? Like, these are important things to consider. And for a lot of my life, I know when I was younger, when I would apologize to, some friend or girlfriend or parents or whatever the fuck it was, I was really just like, to me, that was the magic words to where I don't have to feel bad anymore for what I did. What an apology should represent is a commitment to try to not do this again, to really focus on, like, I understand that this is not an ideal outcome that I've created here. And it's my responsibility to do my best to make sure it doesn't happen again. Okay? That's where I'm coming from. And so I don't want to, this isn't going to be a long thing. I'm going to just probably wrap it up here in a few minutes. But something I was just kind of meditating on. I'll be honest. I was listening to some music in the shower, and man, it hasn't happened in a long, long time. But I just started crying, dude. Like earlier tonight, I started fucking sobbing in the shower because of just something in the lyrics in the song I was listening to, and I was singing along as I do in the shower. And it just hit me in a way that I was like, oh, fuck, I wasn't expecting that. And I started really thinking about that, and it led me down this path. And by the way, the lyrics that did it were not the ones that we looked at a minute ago. Ironically, it was a different song. That song's not like got enough emotion in it to make me feel like that. But anyway, and I realized that when I set out to do YouTube, I set out to express myself on a pretty, profound level. It's a weird thing to self-apply that word, but like profound, my profound feelings, that's fucking stupid, it feels like, but whatever, like I wanted to share what I feel like my girlfriend tells me this isn't the case, okay, but like what I feel like is that I've devolved into just talking shit on chuds and calling them stupid. And I know that's not just that. I know I've been doing more. I know that, but like the kind of stuff that I express in, my Spider-Man psychology video, my Hulk video, even my Superman video, Watchmen, those are the kinds of things that I feel like have resonated the most with people. And they're the things that I feel the most fulfilled having gotten out whenever it's done. And, there's been few and far between, especially this past year or so. Almost non-existent. I threw myself into, the initiative and the Shillcast, and like, we got this team. We can kind of like maybe try to affect some change this way. And I don't regret any of it. Even though things will be changing very soon. So be sure to watch Shillcast, this Shillies and Chuddies Awards ceremony next week. It's going to be cool. Nonetheless, Maestro, if you want to talk about what you were feeling guilty about earlier today, you're welcome to. And this is what I was going to extend to people that might be watching, that I'd like to talk to people. I'd like to do this show and this be the kind of approach of like direct and, because I don't know how to be anything but direct, right? direct, but also empathetic, and just try to navigate some of these things that we take for granted about how these internal processes of feelings that we have, right? Things happen to us every day, and most of us don't talk to people about how we process this shit. Blame and guilt and blah blah, all this stuff. Like, we just go about our day, and we kind of file it away a lot of times. We don't think too much about it because it's often inconvenient to survival. If you're like just trying to make it day to day, fucking pay the bills and stuff, it's kind of a luxury to spend a lot of time on this stuff. Oh yeah, everything is very well. Hopefully you'll go back and listen, because I just started 30 minutes ago, Eric. This is going to be wrapping up pretty soon. I'd like, be cool if you listen and let me know what you think. But so I want to extend this actually maybe to Eric first. How about this? I'd like for you to be my first guest on this show. And you can go back and listen to it and decide that, and reject me, not in person. I mean, not in public. Reject me privately, please, if that's what you're going to do. Exactly, Juan. Most people have no fucking clue what the person next to them is carrying around, right? And it's fucking taboo to talk about it, especially in mixed company. We're so disincentivized from even expressing that we have this, when the fact is, like I said at the top of this thing, we all do to some degree. Whether that trauma is just from one incident where, I don't know, your brother called you a fucking retard or something, or you're fucking, or an extended period of time where you fucking were neglected or abused or whatever it is. Both of those things happen to me, by the way. It's but I mean, I know that there's a wide swath of things that can happen that aren't even as serious as neglect or as abuse, but they still matter, because here's another thing that I always like to repeat about trauma. Nobody's trauma is more, or more substantial, or really, or worse, or like more fucking worth consideration or whatever than anybody else's. And I say this as someone who carries around, like, if I fucking unloaded some of my trauma, some of my traumatic, past to you, you would be like, holy fucking shit, dude, how are you alive? And I'd be like, I don't fucking know, except I do know, because I worked through it. But compared to somebody who's just got some trauma because they, there was a guy in our community server last year who he's a younger guy. He had been in a car accident, and he was carrying around a lot of fucking anxiety about even being in a car after that. And I talked with him through that over the course of some weeks and stuff, just like casually and stuff. But like, he says I helped him. And it's like, that trauma to me, it's like, sure, I'd probably trade what I've dealt with for something like that. But I mean, his trauma is not less than mine. Do you know what I mean? It's not worth mockery. It's not worth dismissal. It doesn't weigh less because it's smaller in my mind or something like that. That's stupid. It's stupid to weigh traumas against other people's. We all share it. And what we need to be doing, instead of fucking comparing and contrasting, is go, oh, you've got some shit too? I've got some shit. Who cares what size it is? We've both got it. Who cares how fucking heavy it is? Let's help each other with it. Because in the end, it's not your fault, but it is your fucking responsibility. I don't want to generalize, really. I don't want to generalize. Honestly, these are all things that, to some degree, you might be able to safely say that, women in women's spaces, but I mean, I don't even know if that's true. I've heard things from women that, like, that's not fucking, it's not cool for them to do it either. I just think that this is a agendered problem. So it was you actually laughing at a younger me making some racist, classist jokes, and I started feeling shame that I was ever that way. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not saying it's wrong to feel shame. I mean, I feel it whenever I think about this stuff, but I mean, it's kind of fruitless to hold on to that shame. Feel it, let it pass through you, and go, okay, I'm better now, and I'm doing better. And then if you feel the need to do something, that instead of spending energy on that shame, spend it on speaking out against other people that do it now, that do that shit. Find a way to communicate to people that still behave that way. And yeah, or just treat your family better, treat your loved ones. If you have kids, teach them better. That's really, it's works, not necessarily faith, to use a religious example there. But yeah, I mean, I don't think he was saying that it was giving or receiving trauma. I was thinking he was talking about Low Watermark was talking about communicating trauma, like amongst themselves and stuff like that. And I see where he's coming from. There's like a motive, hold on, so I'm fucking losing the word here. There's an impetus in my mind to want to think that women have this stuff better. And maybe, 6 out of 10 times you talk to a woman, they might express that. But assuming that based on gendered lines is pointless too. Treat individuals as individuals. Assume nothing about anyone, except that we all carry some degree of trauma. Okay. We all carry some. And that's just what it is. There we go. Let's see. Yeah, I'm probably going to do a stream tomorrow night. Okay. It's not going to be this. It's going to be a more regular thing. I think I'll have maybe some old Bob and some Morgan on. Maybe. We'll see. I'm hoping so, but it's up to them. Definitely be sure to mark your calendars for next Wednesday, the Shillcast. End of an era, man. End of a fucking era. It's going to be cool. Okay. It's going to be like this. I don't know. Like, this is what it's going to look like. Showcast. So don't miss that. All right. Because this might happen. Be a bunch of robots dancing around. You don't know. You never know fucking know what's going to happen. All right. Showcast next Wednesday. It's going to be later than the show normally is. That way we're going to be able to ideally get more people on that are not typically able to make it because they're working or whatever. But there's definitely going to be several guests on of, there might be some pretty well-known YouTubers popping by. Okay. I'll just say that. More well-known than myself or Organized Chaos or Turf Nation or Eric Debunks even, who is infamous. Yeah, I mean, if I get people interested and there's people, because I really want to talk to people too. Like, I really want to just like, and this is the thing, I want to talk to what I would colloquially refer to as chuds. If you're someone who, if you can be on here without being a shithead and you can talk about, things that you've been through, we don't have to agree politically, man. If you fucking know that you've experienced some traumatic shit, we can talk about that on those grounds and not even get into the other shit. I'd like to hear you out. And maybe it gets a little fucking intense. Maybe we get into a fight. Who knows? That doesn't need to be the point. But this is what I mean about, like, it's been almost 5 years since I've felt challenged or scared by doing content. And, I'd like to feel that again because it's fucking, lets me know I'm alive, doing some good shit, right? So, one, I mean, that's a whole other thing we have to get into another time. But I will say this, man, that, like, what does guilt get you? What do you benefit from feeling guilt about that? Aside from the fact that, your mom shaped who you are. And if you had some crappy behaviors, to some degree, your mom was responsible for those. She's not necessarily to blame, not necessarily her fault, but she was responsible. Maybe she could have been a little more, and that's a hard thing to deal with too. As someone who has a dead mother, when you have to come to terms with the dead parent's faults, the things that they were not the best at, or the things that in some cases they were pretty shitty about, that sucks, man. But it is work worth doing. Okay. Because remember, it's not her fault, but it was a responsibility. And now it's not your fault. It is your responsibility. with that in mind, let me show this thing one more time, and we're gonna peace out of here. Thank you guys for sticking around and checking it out and giving it a shot. You know, if it was a conversation you felt was worth listening to or having, please leave a comment. Let me know. You know, hit like. If you're not subscribed, please do that. And yeah, we'll see you back here the next time I do this, assuming I do, which I probably will, to be honest. I think it went okay. Peace.